We will consult the oracle.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the times ancient tales from Greek mythology were seemingly confirmed to be based on real-life things, thanks to scientific discoveries and theories centuries later.
It's just a myth, isn't it? Pure fantasy. Well, that is where you'd be wrong.
Number 20, Mount Olympus.
But why did you leave me on Earth? Didn't you want me?
Of course we did. Your mother and I loved you with all our hearts. Someone stole you from us.
Every god needs somewhere to live. In Greek mythology, the 12 gods' home was based on the very real Mount Olympus on the Thessaly and Macedonia border. On its highest peak, Mythikos, at 9,572 feet up. Often, whenever Greeks settled in other areas, they named the highest peak Olympus too. In 1913, the first recorded climbing of Mount Olympus took place by Frédéric Boissonnas and Daniel Beaubovy. However, they weren't the first to climb, as Greek scientists later found items on the mountain from as far back as 400 BCE. Some scientists believe natural events on Mount Olympus, such as a meteor strike, may have inspired some of the gods' feats in the mythology.
Guys, Olympus would be that way.
Number 19, the Palace of Nestor.
The Trojans have never been conquered. Some say they can't be conquered.
According to Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, Nestor was a former Argonaut and the king of Pylos. In those tales, now an older man, he gives others advice, including Agamemnon and Achilles. In 1939, American archaeologist Carl Blegen found the first signs of the Palace of Nestor in Pylos. However, World War II put a stop to the excavation for years. In 1952, Blegen and his team returned and continued uncovering the palace and ancient items until 1966. In 2015, a team from Blegen's former employers, the University of Cincinnati, uncovered the Griffin warrior tomb nearby. Dated around 1450 BCE, the tomb was filled with riches. However, while the body's identity has yet to be identified, it's not believed to be Nestor.
How many battles have we won off the edge of his sword? This'll be the greatest war the world has ever seen. We need the greatest warrior.
Number 18, Cyclops. Cyclopes play a role in many Greek mythological tales and have become one of the most famous mythological beings. Described as hulking creatures with immense strength, their most defining feature is the single eye they have centered on their face. Depending on the story, Cyclopes are depicted as barbarous raiders, builders, or blacksmiths for Zeus. While the creatures didn't exist in reality, they might have been inspired by a prehistoric elephant. In 1914, Austrian paleontologist Ottinio Abel suggested the Cyclops myth could have originated from the discovery of dwarf elephant skulls by ancient Greeks. The animal's large nasal cavity for its trunk could have been misinterpreted as a single eye socket. Fossils of the dwarf elephants have been found in several Mediterranean islands, including Greece's Crete.
The skeleton looked sort of human-like, only much bigger and a little stranger. Next thing you know, bada boom, bada bing, bada bam, you have a Cyclops.
Number 17, the Labyrinth of Knossos. Greek mythology can get really weird. Due to Minos's wife Pasiphae hiding in a wooden cow that a bull impregnated, she gave birth to the Minotaur, the half-human, half-bull hybrid monster. Minos, the king of Crete, got Daedalus to create a labyrinth to house the creature, with the king sacrificing people to it. Minos wasn't a nice person. While thankfully he doesn't exist in reality, the labyrinth seemingly does. In 1900, a team led by British archaeologist Arthur Evans began excavating in Knossos. An elaborate maze was discovered with bull motifs, leading to the belief it was the infamous labyrinth. As for the Minotaur, it may have been inspired by the skull of the extinct elephant species Dinotherium giganteum.
Put my mother down!
Number 16, Scylla and Charybdis.
Tell me those aren't sharks.
Ozaran sharks.
In Greek mythology, Scylla and Charybdis are sea monsters who are said to share the same strait, both residing under rocks. When Odysseus sailed near them, he was advised to go closer to Scylla rather than Charybdis to lose some crew, but not all of them if he did the opposite. As such, the duo gave rise to the idiom between Scylla and Charybdis, which is similar to between a rock and a hard place. Charybdis used whirlpools to drag ships to her mouth, while Scylla snatched people to consume. Scientists believe the duo may have been inspired by the Strait of Messina in southern Italy, as the area is known to have a whirlpool and rocks.
It's Charybdis! What?
She guards the Sea of Monsters!
Number 15. Archimedes' heat ray.
Probably the most famous ancient death ray was the one that was built by the Greek inventor Archimedes.
While the siege of Syracuse actually happened from 213 BCE to 212 BCE, there's one part of the story that some believe to be nothing more than a myth. When the Roman Republic sent ships to attack, inventor Archimedes got creative. He used mirrors to create a heat ray that set the enemy ships ablaze. This far-fetched technology was tested in 1973 by Greek scientist Ioannis Sakis. He managed to set a mock-up Roman ship on fire, seemingly giving significant weight that this may have happened. However, the Mythbusters TV show couldn't replicate his experiment. 3 times they tried, and their experiment did little beyond minor fires. Conversely, in 2023, 13-year-old Brendan Senner made a mini version of Archimedes' heat ray with much better success.
But how could Archimedes have conceived such a formidable weapon, one far in advance of any known at the time?
Number 14. The Deucalion Flood.
Before he walked on, my father Enoch told me that one day, if man continued in his ways, the Creator would annihilate this world.
Many cultures have a great flood mythology, such as Noah in the Bible. In ancient Greece, it was the Deucalion flood. Zeus, in another one of his rages, decided to end the Bronze Age by inciting a flood to destroy everything. Deucalion and his wife Pyrrha survived the flood by building a chest or ark, with help from his Titan father Prometheus. The real-life Parian Chronicle, which details some of Greece's history, believes a regional flood happened around 1529 BCE. For years, marine archaeologists had found evidence that seemingly confirmed a big flood took place. In 2000, Robert Ballard, who famously discovered the Titanic wreck, found evidence in the Black Sea that a major flood had happened over 7,000 years ago.
Great flood is coming. The waters of the heavens will meet the waters of the earth.
Number 13. Golden apples.
My last labor, by far, was the most difficult. I had to pick the golden apples of Hesperides.
This legendary fruit has popped up in several Greek myths. Most famously, Eris had thrown the apple of discord during a marriage with the words, "to the most beautiful." This led to 3 goddesses claiming it. Typically, Zeus delegated the decision to Paris. He gave the golden apple to Aphrodite, who bribed him with Helen of Sparta's love, sparking the Trojan War. While there are apple species that share similarities with the mythical one, it's believed another real-life fruit is the fabled golden apple. Argan fruit, quince, and tomatoes have all been suggested by scientists. However, with many languages describing it as a golden apple, an orange is the favorite explanation, especially as it wasn't grown in the region at the time.
Necklace of Harmonia, Hercules' bow, golden apple of discord. 3 millennia of gods and demigods. You think that someone would have come up with a cure for Talia's tree.
Number 12. Hercules and the Nemean lion.
This was no ordinary beast. It had a hide so tough, no weapon could penetrate it.
Born of the sky father Zeus and the mortal Alcmene, Hercules the demigod was tricked into slaying his family by Hera, his stepmom/aunt. Yeah. Anyway, to redeem himself, he worked under King Eurystheus, who gave him the 12 labors of Hercules. The first task was to slay the Nemean lion, who was attacking the city of Nemea. Despite the beast's pelt being reputedly impenetrable, Hercules managed to do it and wore its pelt. Nowadays, lions don't live in Europe, but they used to, and may have gone extinct there as late as the Bronze Age. As such, some scientists believe that a real-life version inspired the Nemean lion fable. Lions terrorizing a community isn't unheard of, as the Tsavo man-eaters of Kenya wreaked havoc in 1898.
Ever heard of the man-eating lions of the Tsavo? Well, in 1898, during the construction of the Kenya-Uganda rail line, more than 135 were mauled to death. Reasons of why lions would choose human as their first prey still raises eyebrows.
Number 11. The Mycenaean civilization.
I have decreed that this boy shall remain here with us in our city. Furthermore, he shall from this day forward be my own son and heir to the throne of Mycenae.
The settlement Mycenae and the civilization that bears its name have been heavily featured in Greek mythology. After being founded by Perseus, the slayer of Medusa, Agamemnon later took the crown and famously led the Greeks in the Trojan War. In 1874, German archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann, desperate to prove Homer's work true, began excavating a site that turned out to be Mycenae. He found a royal cemetery and many artifacts, including the so-called Mask of Agamemnon, which is dated before the fabled ruler's rule. Schliemann's work not only proved that the Mycenae site existed, but a whole civilization that was believed lost to time had walked the earth.
On either side of me stand two assistant priests, wearing masks as well, lumpy, pop-eyed masks, such as were also found at Mycenae.
Number 10. The city of Tenea. According to mythology, after the Trojan War, a bunch of prisoners were taken to the island of Tenedos. Eventually, Agamemnon, the king of Mycenae, allowed them to create a settlement, which became the city of Tenea. The location also played a part in the story of Oedipus, who famously had a whole complex named after him. But Tenea eventually vanished from the records and was seemingly a fictional place. That was until 1846, when the Kouros of Tenea was found in the area. Then in 1984, a sarcophagus was discovered by local villagers and archaeologist Elena Korka. In 2013, Korka led an excavation of the site. Since then, various ancient items and the remains of Tenea's buildings have been discovered. Number 9. Orichalcum.
It was Cadmus that wrought the making of bronze. He knew how to make alloys, special metals, which in the early days of civilization was the beginning of technology.
When you think of the most precious materials in the world, orichalcum wouldn't be considered. However, to the ancient Greeks, this metal was believed to only be behind gold in value. In Plato's Critias, he speaks of the walls of some of Atlantis' buildings being decked out with the unusual material. He described the metal as, quote, flashing with the red light.
The copper tint of this metal caught the attention of the seekers that came to this sacred place.
While many believed orichalcum to be a work of fiction, in 2015, a discovery was made. Off the coast of Gela in Sicily, a 2,600-year-old shipwreck was located. On board were 39 ingots made from seemingly orichalcum. Scientists discovered the material was an alloy, primarily made from copper and zinc, but also had traces of lead, nickel, and iron. Number 8. The Golden Fleece.
Get the fleece.
In mythology, looking to become king of Iolcus, Jason and the Argonauts set out to claim the Golden Fleece of Chrysomelos, which has long ties to his heritage.
When do we sail? Tomorrow.
As the name suggests, the sought-after item was a fleece made from gold. During a perilous journey filled with one ridiculous task after another, Jason manages to get the iconic item from a grove in Colchis, located in modern-day Georgia. Well, this tale might be based on fact. Back then, sheep fleeces were used to collect gold flakes from rivers and streams. And several of these gold-rich water sources were in Georgia and mentioned in Jason's tale. As such, it's likely the Golden Fleece is talking about this ancient way of prospecting.
The fleece. Give me the fleece. It has the power to heal.
Number 7. The Chimera.
Give away! Its venom catches fire!
Probably one of the most terrifying creatures from Greek mythology, the fire-breathing chimera is typically depicted as having the head of a lion, a goat, and a snake-headed tail. According to Homer's Iliad, Bellerophon defeated the beast in Lycia, modern-day Turkey. Well, it's likely a real location that inspired this story. In Yanartash, near the ancient city of Olympus in Turkey, is Mount Chimera.
Legend has it that a fire-breathing monster was killed here by a Greek god, and its breath lives on beneath the rocks.
On the slopes are fires that are still burning centuries later, which have natural gas vents below feeding them. On top of this, the area is said to have been inhabited by lions, snakes, and goats at one point. Suspicious.
As the rocks of Yanartash continue to burn, geologists are continuing their search for more deposits like these.
Number 6. Plutonian at Hierapolis. Nicknamed Pluto's Gate, These areas were thought to be entrances to the underworld in ancient Greece.
This magnificent place hides a dark secret. Legend says that beneath these streets lies the gate to hell.
Named Plutonian after the god Pluto, who was previously called Hades, animal sacrifice was a common practice there, especially at the site in ancient Hierapolis in modern-day Turkey. During a ceremony, a priest would take an animal into the eerie depths. The rising toxic gas would then cause the creature to pass away, but the human to live. They believed the gas was sent by Pluto. However, after the cave was discovered in 2011, studies have shown the gas is pockets of carbon dioxide from seismic activity.
It's amazing that the myth was not only a myth, but it is a reality.
The priests would hold their breaths to escape the effects and be celebrated for making it through Pluto's sacrifice.
The priests likely believe the deadly vapors rise straight from the underworld.
They almost certainly believed it was the gates of hell, and that this was the only way they could survive it.
Number 5. The Oracle at Delphi. One of the top jobs in ancient Greece involved being the Pythia at the Temple of Apollo.
At any given time, a single oracle known as the Pythia communicates Apollo's will.
Also known as the Oracle of Delphi, the high priestess was visited by many, including rulers. She would go to a chamber and inhale the vapors from a crack in a rock, putting her into a trance as she gave advice.
In antiquity, just like today, people had a lot of uncertainties in life, and they presumed that the gods knew more than they did.
However, this occasionally caused delirium or led to their demise. When the temple was excavated in the late 1800s, the mystical vapor wasn't present, so it was thought of as a myth. However, in 2001, geological studies found fault zones underneath the site. Researchers believe the vapor was a hydrocarbon gas. In a nearby water source, ethylene was discovered, which was once used as an anesthetic.
Scholars think water running underground could have carried gases up through the fault lines, directly to the priestess.
Number 4. Amazon warriors. When thinking of Amazon warriors, Wonder Woman would probably be the first thing to spring to mind. The second is that they're fictional. But are they? Ancient Greece was fascinated by them. As such, they were featured in many stories, including the labors of Hercules, and showcased their superior combat skills and strength over Greek folk.
Amazon battle scenes decorated the Parthenon on the Athenian Acropolis. Paintings and statues of Amazons adorned temples and public spaces.
In 2019, a tomb in the Voronezh region in Russia was excavated. The archaeologists found the remains of 4 women warriors from 3 generations buried together. They found an elaborate golden headdress, weapons, and other goods within.
The women's skeletons show battle injuries, ribs slashed by swords, skulls bashed by battle axes, and arrows embedded in bones.
While the remains were officially credited to be Scythian nomads, some researchers believe they are the basis for the Amazon legend. Number 3. Atlantis.
An ancient structure bears a striking resemblance to a stone staircase. But is it natural or man-made?
Since Plato wrote about the island of Atlantis in his work, the human race has been fascinated with the place. Within his tales, Plato describes the utopian island from its highest point to its lowest, when the gods sunk it into the ocean's depths. While Atlantis is thought of as fictional, the story might not be. Instead, it could be based on an actual natural disaster that swallowed an island. One example is the volcanic eruption and earthquake that turned the singular island of Santorini, previously known as Thera, into an archipelago. The quake also created tsunamis, which swept over other settlements. This devastated the highly advanced Minoan civilization, which was effectively wiped out.
There is a huge amount of unrecorded human history beneath the ocean surface that we don't know very much about at all.
Number 2. Giant squid.
The video of the 20-foot giant squid, 100 miles off of New Orleans, captured the public's attention.
Many ancient civilizations have tales about the monstrous giant squid that destroys boats and terrorizes the oceans. And the Greeks were no different. In Homer's Odyssey, he describes the sea monsters Scylla and Charybdis that resided in a narrow strait. The latter was known for creating whirlpools, while the former had 6 heads, was 12 feet, and had rows of sharp teeth.
Athena, protect us.
Scylla would use her multiple noggins to devour 6 sailors that got too close to a rock. It wasn't until 2004 that scientists managed to get a photo of a giant squid in its natural habitat. And it had some resemblance to the legend of Scylla.
People are very interested in this kind of thing, and we need to make people more aware of just how many incredible things there are in our ocean.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. The City of Troy. To the ancient Greeks, the city of Troy in Turkey was a powerful kingdom that had its downfall during the Trojan War.
According to legend, Troy rises from the coastal plains of Asia Minor. It's the most powerful city in the region, housing more than 10,000 citizens.
Detailed in Homer's work in Iliad and Odyssey, after 10 years of besiegement, it was conquered by the Greek army led by Agamemnon. It's also the setting for Achilles and Hector's legendary fight. But then, Troy fell to history and was considered a myth. That was until 1865, when Frank Calvert began excavating a site in Hisarlik and found evidence of its existence.
Homer left clues to the location of Troy throughout the Iliad, and the details are so precise that many historians believe he was talking about an actual place.
He brought in Heinrich Schliemann, who was notorious for his reckless methods. In 1871, they found multiple ruins believed to be attributed to Troy. Since then, archaeologists have discovered further evidence that the legendary city may have existed. Is there a surprisingly true Greek myth we forgot? Pick a bone with us about your favorites in the comments.
But the gods of Olympus are real.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.